What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris, and with Xbox finally having base building with the recent launch of the Resistance update, I think it's high time we get back into discussing bases here in the world of Generation Zero, with 5 ways base building can be expanded on in the future of the game. Bases are still very much in the early stages here in Generation Zero, with us having pretty much a year-long delay on their development throughout this year, which I think means that through 2022, we'll be seeing bases get a ton of love, from new features to new buildables to maybe potential reworks of certain game mechanics and more. Of course, I could be entirely wrong, but I think what we have right now for base building is the foundation and not the final form of what base building will be here in the game. So with that in mind, I'm going to pitch out 5 ways that base building could be added to and expanded on throughout this year. I'm sure the team has some crazy ideas in store for us, but I think these ideas would be sick to see in Generation Zero and could potentially bring base building to a whole new level here in the game. And along the way, if any of my ideas give you any ideas, or if you have any ideas of your own, please put them in the comments down below. This list is in no real particular order here, but the first thing I always think of when I'm building bases here in Generation Zero is that electricity and some sort of power system for the base would be massive for its implications and how it could add to things. New lighting options, defense options, and door options, the new gameplay additions we could see and how they would flush out locations of the game, and heck, even give a new thing for us to grind for so we can satisfy the inner loot goblin in us all. At the base, we even have a generator that's all disheveled and stuff, but if we could get that thing fired up again, that would be an awesome, first start for power generation as an introduction. Then at future bases, we'd maybe have to find other means of power generation, from mobile generators to even using machine technology. It would also add the layer of complexity that I think base building is currently missing. It's pretty simple. You slap up a few walls, fight some waves, and that is that. Maybe you score a spicy type of ammo to get you to fight more waves, but there's never any real level of depth in the current format. But if you instead maybe needed a certain level of power generation to make things work, or to give you some real options in your base building from turrets to doorways, it would make the process of base building require more thought than go grab wood. And if we got some sort of wiring mechanic too, it could potentially pose some healthy problem solving for base building. Plus, the consistent need for power generation could open up the option of gathering fuel from locations around the game world. Benzo gas pumps and cars, maybe even from machines themselves. And then you bring the fuel back to your base to load up the generator to get things working before taking on some waves. I think the potential for some sort of power system in our base building is pretty dang ripe, my dudes. All depending on if that's something the dev team really wants to go through with. The next thing that I think would make bases way more interesting in-game is if we had random attacks on our bases, especially as we've low-key had it confirmed that new locations will be coming to the future to build bases at. Having something in the game that is a little more urgent would be awesome, and bases serve the perfect opportunity. And now, I know some of you might be thinking,
now the settlement needs our help. I'll mark it on your map.
But really, I think it would be great. Maybe you could score different rewards from raids than wave defense, and raids could maybe just serve as one big wave of machines. But it would really spice things up and add to the need of having defenses around your base so that you could slow down machines when you're not there. It would maybe add to the tedium of base building a little bit, but again, just like how I think we need some healthy problem solving in our base building, I also think some more urgent care would make bases mean a bit more in how we lay them out and whether or not we even engage with them. Now, this next one isn't so much a necessary thing, heck, it might not even be possible. But more procedural destruction to our bases would be friggin' amazing. Right now, as things lose health, they gradually smoke and get this cracked overlay. But if bases could wind up more ruined like the houses we see in game, Dude, that would be really intense. The community has always really wanted some sort of procedural destruction, and even though out in the game world it would be a massive feat to pull off, it might be more of a possibility in base building. It would also be much more dramatic once you get to the end of some tough waves. If you literally had holes punched through your walls and towers left ruined, it would look a lot more spicy than our current setup. Even though our current destruction system isn't bad at all, if it were made procedural, it would be really something impressive to either show off or just experience as a player. Now, the thing that's probably going to take up the bulk of this video, NPCs for our bases. This is the thing that I think has one of the highest amounts of potential for adding to our base building experiences, and on a pretty major scale. The role of the NPC in Generation Zero so far has been to add characters to expand on the plot and lore of the game world, sometimes to be the vehicle that moves the plot forwards, like Elsa in Alpine Unrest or Cal in Phoenix Rising. But sadly, most times NPCs just serve as set dressings for the two major resistance locations in the game. What base building brings in a huge way is the chance for NPCs to serve far greater roles in the game world. Traders, soldiers, even storytelling NPCs that we've heard of through the Messages in a Bottle series. NPCs could finally become a much more real thing in the game world, actually going about and doing things that will aid you instead of just kinda standing around. Soldiers could be trained and maybe even equipped with spare gear you no longer have a need for, meaning that we could deck our dudes out with full 5 and 6 crown gear if we so choose. And then when we need, those soldiers will join in and help us with maybe wave defense, or potentially even the random attacks that we were talking about earlier. Something I've always had a hope for since their inception is a method of automating assignments to have a thing to jump into the game for every now and then that keeps us equipped and supplied, which would kind of cut out a lot of the mindless grinding that permeates Generation Zero's gameplay. It's like, no matter where you get in the game, you always have to grind ammo and medkits and crafting resources and machines and gear, and it just becomes a slog of grinding. If we could train soldiers to maybe go out and do assignments for us, that would be excellent to get us just little bits of free stuff while we game that will keep us supplied in the long run. The better supplied and higher leveled the soldier, the faster they'll complete assignments for you, or something like that. Or maybe get you better rewards even. But the key thing is, they'd serve you a better purpose now, either fighting beside you, or going out and doing some of that mindless grind for you. For trading NPCs, this would be a huge thing, and would really impact Generation Zero, because we would possibly need some form of currency. Or maybe just trading crafting components for things, that could possibly work too, but either way, we now have some sort of method of getting free stuff without having to go against RNG if it were set up as just a simple, straightforward store. Maybe the NPCs could be wandering NPCs too, that way we could get new stuff to trade for as time goes on. Again, kind of giving you a purpose to play beyond what we normally do in the game, and I think that's the huge thing base building has brought to us, is the chance for us to do things differently in our gameplay and enjoy different things than shooting guns and exploring the Swedish countryside and fighting against deadly machines and stuff. 'Cause that stuff's all sick, it's freaking awesome, I have thousands of hours in the game to account for that, but that doesn't need to be the only thing that Generation Zero offers. For storytelling NPCs, kind of getting us back on track with the NPC thing here, storytelling NPCs actually have been hinted at through the Messages in a Bottle collectibles that we got in the Resistance update. Xbox players, if you haven't yet, go look for those. They have some incredibly spicy lore. But It would be very cool to see storytelling NPCs come to base building in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just a menial kind of like text story or something like that. I think it would be a really cool and really unique thing to do here in Generation Zero that, you know, would just expand on the game world. Really, ultimately, I think NPC's potential lies best in base building and not actually in plot-related DLC, but we'll have to see if I'm right about that one or not as time goes on. It's a pretty hot take, so I don't know how that one's gonna age. And for the last little bit, just a short and simple request. Let us enter the truck, my dudes. If there is a dev out there, man, I seriously just want to open the back of the truck to find a half metric ton of semla and a sleeping bag so I can sleep and have sound Swedish dreams through the dang night, man. No, but sleep depravity aside, it would be an awesome touch to be able to enter the truck or whatever new command centers pop up to see and manage things like your base's health, maybe offering a quick fix button for all of your built structures, or even managing the various NPC stuff if NPCs do get some use in base building. Maybe it could serve as a spot for the storytelling NPC to reside at, or something like that. But if the command center could get some love, that would be a nice little touch to make bases feel potentially either a little more manageable, or just a little bit more like your command center. Ultimately, base building in Generation Zero still has an insane amount of potential that has yet to be cracked, but I'm so stoked for when it does. A game I look at for great base building progression of development is No Man's Sky. The amount of expansion it's had since the early days is massive, and I hope Generation Zero can kind of find its groove in the next coming years and offer us a ton of fun things, big and small, for base building, kind of in a similar fashion to how Hello Games went about things. So, as we wind the video down now, I want to know, what do you want most from base building? We have a pretty solid foundation, but also the nice thing is that it isn't very limiting to what we could possibly see, especially in regards to some of the things I talked about here. So, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you dig these ideas, and if you aren't a fan, leave a dislike. YouTube has phased out the dislike option, which I think is kinda lame. It gives a good chance to show off metrics like this, but still, I'll see it all on the back end. Cheers, folks. Hopefully, I'll have some spicy news to bring y'all later this week as we get towards the holidays, but for now, I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.